I'm an American who's been traveling the world and living abroad for nearly 2 years. And although I spent much of that time in Europe, I unfortunately did not have the opportunity to visit Italy. However, these Americans have. Bearing that in mind, in this video, we will be analyzing Americans experiencing culture shock in Italy.
I'm so excited to finally try Italian food in Italy.
Buongiorno, here's your menu.
Oh, I don't need that. I know exactly what I want already.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. What would you like to order?
I'll have my number one favorite dish, fettuccine alfredo.
Alfredo. Signora, who is Alfredo?
Like the pasta dish with the white sauce?
Raga, qualcuno conosce Alfredo qua? No, perché questa qua chiede per Alfredo. Signora, there's nobody named Alfredo here, I'm sorry.
What? No, not a person. Never mind. What about just chicken parm?
Chicken che? I don't know what this is, signora.
Yeah, you know, it's like the pasta with the chicken and the cheese melted on top.
Chicken on pasta? Are you crazy? Signora, in Italy, no chicken on pasta, no chicken on pizza.
Seriously? Okay, maybe something simple like pepperoni pizza. Please tell me you at least have that.
Yes, we do.
Oh, thank you. Finally.
Here you go.
Oh, where's the pepperoni? It just has, well, peppers.
Signora, this is what you asked for. Pepperoni on pizza.
What? So pepperoni just means peppers, and there's no chicken on pasta, and no Alfredo sauce? My whole life has been a lie.
Non mi pagano abbastanza per fare questo lavoro.
So I'm not gonna lie, if it weren't for videos like this one, I would probably have a very similar experience whenever I do have the privilege of going to Italy. I mean, my reference point as an American for Italian food is very similar to everything that she just outlined. From pizza, just pizza in general, especially pepperoni pizza, that's the default pizza flavor for the majority of Americans. You had Alfredo. I think that a lot of Americans really like that. Evidently, that's not really a thing in Italy, or maybe it is, but it just has a different name. Let me know in the comments if that is a thing, because I'm sure that somebody in Italy has made that before at some point. These are very Americanized versions of Italian food, and really it's to the point where, based on her experience in Italy, it's possible that it's not even Italian food at all, and Americans have just bastardized Italian food and market it that way, but it has nothing to do, it has no cultural roots in Italy. I think that one of the most fascinating things about this is that most American foods, most foods that your typical American eats on a day-to-day basis, actually come from other places. So something like French fries, for example. French fries come from Belgium. Hamburgers come from Germany. Pizza comes from Italy. Tacos come from Mexico, I believe. I think that the US, being this melting pot of different cultures, what ends up happening is you have different cultural customs from all of these different places, diluting the cultural customs of all of the other places. So when you say a melting pot, the implication there is that every culture becomes diluted by entering that atmosphere. This person right here said, I don't understand why anyone would go to Italy to just order the same stuff you'd get at home. I used to have that same line of thinking, but then I realized that there is some merit in comparing the same dish in different places. So even something like McDonald's. Granted, I don't eat McDonald's personally, but I see why if you're somebody who eats McDonald's in the US, you might want to go to a McDonald's in Italy, for example, and see what the difference is. But I guess what Americans have to realize is that you're not just going to be able to get the same exact thing in the US as in Italy. It's just not going to be the case, because in Italy, the culture has not been diluted. That's one of the biggest differences between Europe and the USA, is that European countries retain their cultural customs very well, and cuisine is no exception to that rule.
These are some of the biggest cultural differences that I've noticed as an American college student living in Italy for the past almost month. I've been to Italy before studying abroad, so these are things that I didn't even realize until I've been living here for weeks at a time. First, I'm going to start off with the door lock. Because in Italy, the doors double lock, and that was something that took me so long to comprehend. Even still, it takes me 2 or 3 tries to unlock the door. Very first night that we got here, I got locked in the bathroom for 30 minutes because I could not unlock the double locked door. I didn't even realize that I double lock. They're so hard to figure out. So if you get humbled doing that, it's okay, because I still don't really even know how to do it. They separate their trash 4 different ways, and there's like different trash bins for everything, and you basically take your trash out like every single day. Smoking cigarettes is completely normal, like completely normal. Look, I'm sitting out here at my apartment outside. We have like a little table. This is given to us by the school. And there's like a little cigarette ashtray sitting out. People smoke like everywhere, literally everywhere. Inside, outside, at restaurants, like doesn't matter. It's just a completely normal thing here. If you don't like the smell of cigarettes, then you better get used to it real quick before you come to it. Tipping your server is not really a thing here. And like I remember one time we tried to tip our taxi driver and he like wouldn't even accept it. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. It's just not really a thing here. Obviously, they have different outlets than we do in the US, but you need to get new hair tools if you're coming, because it will oversurge the outlet and it will either turn off the lights in the whole apartment or it will just break the outlet or break your hair tool. Even if you think that it's like the dual protection thing, it's not. Just buy a new one or just don't bring one. Speaking of the power, sometimes when you oversurge one of the outlets, the entire power in the whole apartment goes off and you have to reset your server. We've only had to do this once, luckily, but like blackouts are common to happen. And you have to go through, turn off all the lights, unplug everything, and then like flip the breakers back on, which doesn't sound that hard, but it was really hard to find our breakers in this apartment. Everything here is very laid back and chill. So when you're going to a restaurant, I hope you're not like starving when you sit down. It is not like the US where they rush you in and out. Like they want you to sit there and enjoy your meal and enjoy your time in the restaurant. Everything is very slow. They take their time. There's like no need to rush you out. The whole point is like enjoying your food. Wi-Fi here is not good. It is so bad. People just come walk right up to you and will come talk. And it's not them being creepy, because I know like in America, if somebody was to just come walk right up to me and be talking to me the way that people do here in Italy, I would be like, whoa, like fight or flight mode turned on. That's not how it is here. Like it's just part of their culture. It's not them being rude. It's just what they do. They come walk right up to you and they'll start having conversations with you, and that's normal. It's nothing weird, nothing ill-intentioned. This one is like an obvious one, but I don't know, in case maybe somebody doesn't know this already. Pickpocketing is definitely a thing. Just be aware of yourself and your surroundings. I haven't had any problems with it so far, knock on wood. I feel like it's pretty easy to spot them out and tell who's like searching for people. So just like kind of always have your hand on your bag. Don't have anything open. Don't be like oblivious and you'll be fine.
Double locking doors. If you're an Italian person, I need you to explain to me what she means by that. I spent 14 months living in the Netherlands, so that's my best reference point for Europe. But the only thing that I noticed with the locks there was that you had to put the key in the lock and keep turning it. Whereas in the US, generally, you put the key in the lock and you turn it like that, just one time. And that's pretty much it. Now, as far as the trash bins, that was something that I noticed upon arriving in Spain. Spain was actually my first point of contact with Europe, and that blew my mind. That was something that I had no idea about. Coming from the US, we have recyclables and trash, and that's literally it. And honestly, I feel like the US was kind of late to the party in terms of recycling culture, because growing up, from what I recall, we didn't actually receive recycling bins from the city that we lived in until something like 2013-ish, 2012, 2013. As far as smoking cigarettes being normal, I have not been to Italy, so I can't really speak on this, but I did point out in a recent video about France that statistically it might be true that in some of these European countries, or really in Europe as a whole, more people smoke than in the US. Okay, this is factually correct based on the statistics that I saw. However, I think that the discrepancy, statistically speaking, is a little more pronounced because in Europe, generally, you have societies that are built at the human scale. In other words, you see a lot more people in your day-to-day life because cities are walkable and people choose to walk places. Whereas in the US, most people spend a lot of their time in the car. So I feel like a lot of Americans underestimate how many Americans actually smoke, especially because smoking in the US, ironically, is seen as a pretty taboo thing. And generally, people will kind of look down on you if you do it, even though those same people might own literal military-grade firearms and keep them in their homes with their children. But that's a different discussion for a different day. I do think that the difference is more pronounced because of how the cities are structured. As far as no tipping culture, this is something that I've covered in great depth in a lot of my prior videos, but just to reiterate, no tipping culture is a good thing. It is unequivocally a good thing, and the reason why is because the implication there is that Italian restaurant owners and restaurant managers pay their workers a livable wage. Whereas in the USA, a server can start out with a salary of as low as $2.13 per hour. Americans love to boast and brag about how much more Americans make. $2.13 an hour doesn't sound like a whole lot of money to me personally. And of course, working at a restaurant, especially in the US with the faster service, we'll get to service speed here in a second, is very hard work. And I'm speaking from experience with that. I didn't even serve, I just cleaned the tables. That was very, very difficult work. $2.13 an hour, in my opinion, is absolutely criminal. It's just criminal. I think it's worth the trade-off of not having free refills for not having to tip. Because most Americans, they talk about how you get free refills, but you're really paying for the refills with your 20% tip. And if you don't leave a 20% tip and you're taking advantage of the free refills, that makes you a bad person. Now, as far as slower service overall, this sounds great. And I say this from the standpoint of having worked in a restaurant, again, cleaning those tables, trying to keep up during those busy hours. It used to get so busy during my shifts that I literally just opted to not take breaks. I would work 8 or 9 hours straight, pure manual labor, cleaning the tables, sweeping, cleaning the bathrooms, taking out the trash, all of that. I would spend 8 or 9 hours doing that and not take a break in the middle, not have lunch, nothing. Because I knew that if I took a break, by the time I came back, I would be so far behind that I would spend the rest of my shift trying to catch up. And believe me when I tell you that that was every bit as stressful as it sounds. So it's nice to know that the restaurant workers are not only getting paid a decent wage, but they also don't have to deal with the stress that comes with keeping up with that super fast pace. And the slower service, that's a direct privilege that comes from not having the tipping culture. Because when you have tipping culture, what ends up happening is the restaurant workers are incentivized to speed up your dining experience and get you in and out of the restaurant as quickly as possible so that they can make more tips. Now, as far as pickpocketing goes, again, I haven't been to Italy, but I haven't heard very good things about Italy in terms of pickpocketing. This seems to be a very big thing in pretty much every large European tourist destination, from Rome to Paris to London to Barcelona. But look, I don't have any statistics to back this up. What I do know is that property crime in the US, people don't really understand how often that happens, depending on where in the US they're from. When we talk about car break-ins or people burglarizing homes, things of that nature, I mean, try leaving any of your valuables out at a table in a place like New York City, because people are most certainly opportunistic in the US. And I think that that's just kind of a human trait, unfortunately. But I'm saying this to say that I think people, I won't say they overstate the property crime issue in Italy, because I haven't been there to verify that, but I think they understate the property crime issue in the US, because the US is more preoccupied with the violent crime issue, which I can assure you is worse than Italy's.